Good evening. This is a regular City Commission meeting for the City of Largo. Today is Tuesday, June 20th, 2023. I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask that if you have a cell phone, please turn it to silent or off so that we don't have any interruptions. We're going to start this evening's meeting with an invocation given by Rabbi Joshua Lobel from Temple B'nai Israel. And then if you could please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Shalom, everybody. Shalom. Good evening. I am honored to be with you today at the Largo City Commission meeting. I bring greetings from the Jewish community of Temple B'nai Israel, a warm and welcoming Reform synagogue right here in Largo. Thank you for your invitation to share with you a few words of blessing. Let us pray. O God, our guardian and our guide, creator of all, we enter into your holy presence in the spirit of gratitude and partnership. We thank you for the blessing of coming together to work for the communal good. What a blessing it is to be able to gather together as members of this wonderful city, all committed to its continued vibrancy. We know public service is a sacred calling and an awesome responsibility, as through this vital work, we have the power to create good in our community. Holding this holy intention in our hearts, we ask, dear God, that you please bless our leaders and all who are gathered here with wisdom, patience, perseverance, and empathy as we strive together to work for justice and right. Strengthen us both in body and in spirit, and reward our efforts with success. Allow us to be gracious and open-minded in matters of disagreement, treating each individual with respect and compassion. In moments of difficulty, guide us with your good counsel to make just decisions. May our work tonight be pleasing in your sight as we strive to build communal cohesion through both word and deed, bringing about the blessings of justice, truth, and peace. Together we say, Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Rabbi. The first item on the agenda today brings a local celebrity here. We'll be recognizing National Spelling Bee champion Dev Shaw. We'll start with a video.
Whereas Dev Shaw, an 8th grader attending Morgan Fitzgerald Middle School, has demonstrated exceptional talent, dedication, and intellectual prowess in the art of spelling, and whereas Dev has triumphed over 231 worthy competitors to emerge as the winner of the 95th Scripps National Spelling Bee on June 1st, 2023. And whereas over the course of 3 intense days, Dev showcased his extraordinary spelling skills, culminating in his successful spelling of the word samophile, a term referring to an organism that prefers or thrives in sandy soil, in the 15th round of the contest finals. And whereas Dev's victory is a result of years of dedicated preparation and study, investing countless hours in pursuit of excellence in the national spelling competition, and demonstrates his unyielding focus, composure, and passion for learning. And whereas Dev's achievement on the national stage shined a bright light on the City of Largo community and has had a positive impact across Pinellas County and beyond. And whereas Dev's well-deserved accomplishment has brought great pride to his family, his school, his community, and serves as an inspiration to young people everywhere to embrace the power of language and education. Now, therefore, I, Woody Brown, Mayor of the City of Largo, Florida, and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim this day on the 20th of June as National Spelling Bee Champion Dev Shaw Day in the City of Largo, and encourage all residents to join in the celebration of Dev's achievement and his commitment to excellence as the 2023 National Spelling Bee Champion.
Good evening, Commissioners, City leadership, and community members. I'm excited to be here to introduce the winner of the 95th Scripps National Spelling Bee, Dev Shaw. Dev is a shining example of the result of hard work, dedication, and poise under pressure. Due to Dev's achievement, Largo, Florida could be seen across television networks, on newspapers, and through social media feeds. We also received emails and calls from residents excited about his accomplishment. We can't wait to see what the next positive impact he'll have on our community is. We'd like to invite Dev up to share a few words about his experience.
I'm Dev Shaw. I competed in the Scripps National Spelling Bee and won it 19 days ago. I'm very proud to be the 3rd champion from Florida, 2nd champion from the Tampa Bay area, and the 1st from Largo. I am glad to make sure that more champions emerge from Largo and Florida. I thank the City of Largo for your felicitations and this opportunity to speak. I have had a very warm welcome from the City of Largo these last few weeks. Thank you.
Let's do it with the whole family.
Congratulations once again. Next, we'll have Code Enforcement or Code Officer Appreciation Week.
Whereas code officers provide for the safety, health, and welfare of the citizens in this community through the education and enforcement of the city building, land use, housing, environmental, and other codes of ordinances, and whereas code officers are often not credited for the jobs that they do in the protection of lives and improving neighborhoods, and whereas every day, assisted by support and program staff, they attempt to provide quality customer service to the public for the betterment of the community, and whereas too many times their efforts go unnoticed, even after code compliance has been accomplished due to their efforts and expertise, and whereas code officers are dedicated, well-trained, and highly responsible individuals who take their jobs seriously and are proud of their community and the local government within which they serve, and whereas the Florida Association of Code Enforcement has declared the first week of June be set aside by local governments to honor and recognize their code officers, now therefore, I, Woody Brown, Mayor of the City of Largo, Florida, and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim the week of June 5th through the 9th, 2023, as Code Officers Appreciation Week in the City of Largo, Florida, in conjunction with the Florida Association of Code Enforcement Officer Appreciation Week, and encourage citizens to join the City Commission in expressing appreciation for the dedication and outstanding service provided by the individuals who serve as our code enforcement officers.
They bailed on you.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and City Manager. I would like to thank all of you for your continued support of our Community Standards team. I also would like to especially thank our Director, Cheryl Reed, who I have great admiration for. She is an amazing leader that we all can learn from. Our Manager, Chase Bergeron, could not be part of this recognition tonight as he is at the Florida Association of Code Enforcement Conference this week. Chase is doing a fantastic role of manager. Both Chase and I had big shoes to fill when Tracy Schofield and Pete Jensen left their positions with the city. We had a lot of guidance and support from both of them, and Chase and I are very grateful to them. Not everyone is knowledgeable about what we do as code officers, so we are code officers, and what do we do? I would like to introduce my staff, and from the left to the right, Officer Shane Ray, Officer Ray Schultz, Officer Kimberly Barkman, Officer Antonio Costera. In the back row, Support Specialist Mary Googe, Support Specialist Kay Okron, and Code Officer Mac McMillan. Our team of code, excuse me. Our support staff, Mary Googe and Kay Okron, are essential to our success as code officers. We thank both ladies for their dedication, their unwavering support, and the patience that they have for us. Without their hard work, our jobs would be much more difficult. Their roles are essential to the process. Our team of code officers are non-sworn inspectors who possess specialized training in and whose primary duties are the prevention, detection, investigation, and enforcement of violations of the Code of Ordinances and the Comprehensive Development Codes, regulating environmental standards, building and construction standards, sign standards, public health, safety, and welfare, business activities, land use, public nuisance, and at times we become mediators between neighbors. We address community concerns such as protecting property values and the environment. Others view code enforcement as intrusive people on behalf of the local government, telling them how to maintain their free use of private land. We carefully craft our approach to each property and business, taking into consideration our own safety and well-being. We make our best efforts to educate those of many who are unaware of the codes and requirements of the city and state. Voluntary compliance is what we strive for. If we can work with individuals to gain voluntary compliance, we make every effort that we can. We meet some of the most incredible citizens and those who are overwhelmed and in need. We come across amazing businesses that we had no idea that are in Largo. It's a great feeling to walk away from a property and say, wow, what an amazing person that I just spoke to, or what a cool business that was. We are in a unique position of being public servants whose responsibility lies squarely between policymaking, realms of law enforcement, and litigation. Our team is made up of unique individuals who bring to the city amazing experiences with military and law enforcement backgrounds. This team is comprised of the best group of individuals who work well together and as individuals. Some have taken their own personal time to assist homeowners when they do not qualify for housing assistance or need more than the Angel Fund can provide to bring their properties into compliance. I greatly appreciate each one of our dedicated officers and support staff. I close with a thank you to each of you commissioners, the city manager, and the mayor. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you to your whole team. I certainly appreciate most of the cases come into voluntary compliance, so that's a great goal. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, we'll have citizens comment. If you'd like to speak about something on the agenda outside of the consent docket, please wait until that item comes up. Do we have any cards tonight?
Yes, we have 2 cards. First is Pat Byrne.
Pat Byrne, 700 Strikey Road. Citizens can criticize government. Government can't criticize individual citizens unless they urge harm. That's been a basic rule of democracy since ancient Athens. Even undemocratic states observe it. As I know from colleagues, China ended its zero COVID policy by listening to its citizens. It did not attack them for urging this at local meetings. On June 6, I spoke for 2 minutes. I suggested that Largo's handling of the referendum did not reflect a sincere commitment to informing and involving citizens. Of all my many public comments, this seemed to be the least controversial. After all, I did not grade Largo, the voters did, with a D+ and an F. The commission responded by attacking me in a far lengthier and more personal way, breaking that first rule of democracy for the first time in this organization's history. They did so in a cowardly fashion, when I was not present to respond. The commission disingenuously accused me of misinformation. Yet, they did not note that I provided them with an advanced copy. And no one on this commission chose to correct a single word in it before I came here. Over the past 2 years, in dozens of appearances, and many times that number of written messages, all sent to each individual member, I have received just one reply, suggesting that just one of my incidental remarks was in error. It turned out later that it wasn't. Largo says it wants public input and spends considerable amount of dollars, taxpayer dollars, to create this illusion. In practice, many citizens who have appeared here know that only praise is acceptable in this audience. Anything else is likely to be ignored, and in some notorious cases has evoked specific retaliation against individuals or groups. When the commission threatens free speech of one citizen, it disrespects all 85,000 of us. I ask those now on the dais to raise your hands, I mean right now. Whether or not you personally participated in that trampling of a basic citizen right on June 6th, lift your arm to signify that this was wrong and it won't happen again. Do I see any hands?
Sir, you're going to direct your comments to me, please.
Pardon me?
Yeah, the comments are directed to the mayor, not the commission as a whole, so
What
you're
comments?
not going to get a response from the rest of the commission currently, so go on, sorry.
I don't know what that means.
Okay. On the card, it says you will address your comments to the chair, so.
Okay.
Next speaker is Risman Carolla.
Hi, everybody. Last time I was here, I was in better shape. Some idiot broadsided us, but that's not what I'm here for. I'm here especially since this accident. I cannot sleep well, and I have a dip out in front of my house, and there's idiots that go through it, and it sounds like bombs. I had painted it with bright yellow, marked it with bright yellow paint, but it's all washed out, and the city told me that was illegal for me to do. So here I am to ask you all to put some paint on that dip, like you do on the streets where it marks where to go. The highway has it. Why can't you put a big yellow stripes on the dip, on this dip, so I can get some peace? I can't sit on my front porch anymore, because every time somebody goes through the dip, I go straight up in the air. I was diagnosed 7 years ago when my daughter passed away. I was diagnosed with PTSD. I think that's what it's what the soldiers come home with. And noises are terrible. I cannot sit on my front porch anymore, even late at night when everything's real quiet and they go through the dip. I jump out of my chair. So could you please come, somebody, whoever, and look at that dip and help do something about it before I go crazy?
We'll take a look. I'm sure that we have your address. Is that correct?
It's on my paper.
Perfect. Thank
You
you.
told me once you were going to come and look at it the last time I was here.
What's the address? What street?
139 West Overbrook Street.
West Overbrook. And
You got some people that you knew that lived next door to me. A lady that had a flower shop.
Right. We'll
So
take a look.
please,
Thank you.
please, I gotta have some peace. And I'm not the only one that's complaining, the rest of the neighbors are not happy either.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope you feel better.
See, I got a balance problem.
That's all the cards for citizen comment.
Next is approval of the agenda.
Move approval. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next is consideration of the minutes from the regular meeting of June 6, 2023.
Move approval. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Could I hear the consent docket, please?
Item 5, approval of Pinellas Public Library Cooperative Interlocal Agreement Amendment. Item 6, authorization to purchase emulsion polymer from Polydine Incorporated in accordance with GEA solicitation number 14109332246 in the estimated 2.5 year amount of $200,000. Item 7, approval of change order number 1 for purchase order number PO-001009 for a 2023 Ford Transit T250 low roof cargo van in the amount of $54,658.
You've heard the consent docket. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent docket without commission discussion, including staff background, providing the commission packets.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next is ordinance number 2023-27.
Good evening. The item before you is the second and final reading of ordinance number 2023-27, which is a comprehensive development code amendment, revising landscape buffer types by use and location, and development standards for the Largo Tri-Cities Activity Center and multimodal corridor overlays. The proposed ordinance was reviewed and recommended for approval by the Planning Board on May 4th, 2023. And City Commission moved to approve the ordinance at the first reading on May 16th, 2023, and to schedule a second reading at tonight's public hearing. There have been no changes to the proposed ordinance since the first reading. This being said, during the past legislative session, the city adopted, the state legislature adopted Senate Bill 250, which included provisions intended to accelerate the rebuilding following Hurricanes Ian and Nicole. And the Senate bill prohibits local governments that are within 100 miles of where these hurricanes made landfall from adopting more restrictive and burdensome procedures related to comprehensive plans or land development regulations when those procedures impact the review, approval, or issuance of a site plan, a development permit, or a development order before October 1st of 2024, so a little over a year from now. Any such more restrictive or burdensome comprehensive plan amendments or land development regulations or procedures, if adopted during that time period before October 1st, 2024, should be null and void. So based on the GIS, our GIS department, we did determine that Largo is indeed within the 100-mile radius from where Hurricane Ian made landfall, so Senate Bill 250 would apply to the city of Largo. At this time, the drafting of the memo you're here tonight, Senate Bill 250 has not been submitted to the governor yet for signature, so it has not been signed and put into law. And so normally, staff would be recommending approval of the ordinance before you tonight at the second reading. However, with the uncertainty of Senate Bill 250, we're seeking direction from Commission, and staff and legal counsel are available for questions.
Ordinance number 2023-27, an ordinance of the City of Largo, Florida, amending the City of Largo Comprehensive Development Code by amending subsection 7.2.6 D1C, 7.4.5 D1C, and 10.5.2 C2A, Figure 7-10 and Table 10-4, revising development standards and landscape buffer types by use and location for the Largo Tri-City Activity Center and Largo Tri-City Multimodal Corridor Overlay in order to better accomplish compatibility with adjacent uses, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have any cards on this?
Yes. First card I have is Matthew Faustini.
Good evening. I just want to make it clear I'm speaking in my capacity as a private citizen of the City of Largo. I again want to urge this commission to vote no on this item, or at least postpone the vote until the outcome of SB 250 is determined. Mayor Brown at a housing summit here in Largo said recently, Pinellas County was developed in a way that doesn't work in today's world. And if we don't do something, it's only going to get worse. The best time to do something was about 15 years ago, but this is probably the second best. The purpose of the SAP adopted by the commission is to increase intensity and density, yet this would do the opposite. Our amazing city staff did tons of outreach before the planning board and commission enacted the SAP. When the city asked what kind of housing people wanted in the SAP, 63% of those individuals said they wanted some version of multifamily housing. Only 15% said they wanted single-family homes. In 2019, according to the SAP, about 6,000 people lived in the Tri-City SAP. As you all know, that's 744 acres of Largo. Yet this main ordinance impacts 244 parties. The city notified these parties of a special meeting with staff in February. Every one of those 244 parties were notified. Only 34 people attended that meeting with city staff in February. The residents correctly bring up many of the weaknesses and issues enacted in the SAP. Yet those weaknesses were noted in the SAP that the planning board, before I was a member, and this commission passed unanimously. To understand how extensive this is, just compare it to the other general setbacks, and there are nuances, but just in generalities. The Largo Mall SAP setback is 10 feet. Non-West Bay Drive abutting parcels, it's 15 feet. Clearwater Largo Road redevelopment, 20 feet. The general citywide CDC is 10 feet. This would give certain locations a minimum 50-foot setback, and a 4-story apartment near a low-density area would go from the current unanimously adopted setback of 25 feet and could go to a massive 130-foot setback if this ordinance is passed. I urge you to stay true to the original commitments made in 2020 when you passed the SAP. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Richard Gehring, and he's representing Christine Larkin, Randy Mears, Bruce Smithson, Anthony Quartern, Ashley Oakes, Michelle Naylor-Petton, Cannon Feshbach, and Joseph Schoomer for 10 minutes. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, we've been here before. We've been in the Planning Commission. We have some movement that we want to comment that's going in some in the right direction. You also received today 2 letters, one of which is aimed at agenda item number 8, which is this item, and one at number 9. And in the number 8 staff piece by our counsel, which is Jane Graham, there's an assessment about a number of issues, but while we're moving in a direction to make a greater setback than had been in the original development code provisions of the Tri-City SAP, there were 5 items that are listed on page 2 that we asked for. And we've only heard, and the only thing we're seeing is this one action to address additional buffering distances. So it's, like I say, it is a positive in that it's it's an increase. I think staff used the term, it's 4 times the current status of the adopted CDC. Well, that adoption was like about 30 feet. So 4 times that, you're now up to 120 or 130 feet, which is a positive. But in our position, we'd like to see much more action. And so we'd like to see you consider this in such a way that it's consistent with your comp plan. I went through a lot of policies on the meeting of the 16th of May. And tonight, I just want to focus on one. Your flu policy 1.3.1 has wording that all I ask is that staff, legal counsel, and the commission, who rely on the plan to be the development process guiding the community's activity, and which in Florida state law talks about the plan being like a constitution to be followed. It's not willy-nilly. It's not we're doing it this week, this way, that week. We're changing it. We want to make it more flexible. We're so committed to a housing strategy that we'll do anything. When your policies are in structure and you respect your plan and you want your plan to be consistently applied, a criteria that reads require all development to meet the locational criteria contained in Table Flu 1. Table Flu 1 is your rather extensive facility that goes through and lists every land development district you have, and these end up being the character of yours. You don't have zoning, so this is your controlling document done in the legislative process. For both the actions of the flu action in 9 and this action, which is just tweaking the distance, we call your attention because we do not understand how Rick Perez, who was then your planning director, and your the consultant who you paid considerable dollars to, Kimley Horn, normally in a process that's dealing with the community's entire comp plan, you do an assessment of consistency and compatibility in the plan. As you know, this neighborhood that I represent in Allens Creek has like a mile and a third of edge to this activity center area. The definition of residential estate is this classification is generally appropriate to locations distant from urban activity centers. Now, it doesn't even give you a number, but to me, distant starts to get into the, fifth, quarter of a mile distant, something 1,000 feet away, not hundreds of feet away. As extremely environmentally sensitive areas have to be protected in areas where use and development characteristics are estate residential. It defines then the characteristic on the two sides of this category that it should be a transition, serving as a transition between more rural and more suburban. It doesn't say between more rural and an activity center. So when you dropped in the Tri-City plan a huge urban scale activity center all the way to the western boundary of this neighborhood, of this quadrant that's in the northwest quadrant, you, in my interpretation, and I've had 50 years of experience in working in this, violated that intent to require all development to meet the location criteria. So why Kimley Horn did not do this and bring it to staff's attention, why Perez did not review it himself and his staff, and I talked to Ms. Reed earlier in the meeting tonight, and she wasn't on board that time, so she has no perception of it. But you can certainly read it today, and in black and white, it is very clear that it says the action to adopt a Tri-City violated the activity centers coming to this neighborhood, which predates it. It has a mile and a third of edge. And then your flume you're going to consider later, and these modifications you're making to sort of tweak the distance. While they may be moving positive, they're not dealing with the 5 items that are in the letter from Ms. Graham. So therefore, in the condition where we don't know whether Senate Bill 205 is going to be adopted, it's in a vacuum, how it applies, from my experience, I have never, ever, ever, ever heard of a retroactive land use modification where you drop the land use from a date in the past and say everything is void at that point, but then it has a judgment in it of whether it was granting or taking away development rights. So it's very, very vague in its action, and it's not in effect at this point in time. So how you deal with coming back to the neighborhood with something that we think actually meets the 5 criteria we raised is what we'd like to put in front of you, because you adopted. These are the 2 diagrams, the one you did in the earlier CDC and the one you're doing tonight. It shows this minor modification which to the neighborhood is like putting a lot distance between the 2 parcels. Someone says, oh, it's 130 feet. But that's less than half the depth of a lot of lots in the neighborhood. More specifically, I don't know whether it's bait and switch. I won't apply that, but I know it wasn't quality application of policy. You adopted a plan in the Tri-City plan. It had something called catalytic elements. And abutting this neighborhood, what was the catalytic element? It was a single-family subdivision. What are you considering tonight? You're considering how to put overlays on for 25 and with bonuses to 55 development units per acre. Those seem to be entirely inconsistent, and therefore the issue of working with us closer, there's no rush on this. This is initiated by staff. The points in question did not only address one of the issues that we raised in our 5 or 6. The neighborhood would like a very clear intention to protect it from not only the density, which is like hundreds of times to 1,000 times greater than the underlying density in the neighborhood, and the FAR. I know that a lot of people don't deal with floor area ratio, but you can get a 1, 1.5, 2 FAR in these overlays that produce 43,000 to 80,000 square feet of non-residential per acre. So you just run your numbers on how big a site would be, and it could be a huge complex. Totally inappropriate to go next to your established rural estate neighborhood. With that, I'll transition and actually leave before my time is up, because I think I've argued it fairly clearly. If someone has to read the adopted policies, someone has to say legal and planning have used the wrong judgment. They've put activity centers above all other intent, which is not what your plan says. Activity centers, I know you've used them and they're a positive tool and they can be applied, but going from 0.5 units an acre, which is what's on Allen's Creek side, to 25 units an acre and 55 units an acre with bonuses is such a disparity with no transition designed other than this, oh, we're expanding the setback, and that's adequate. I will tell you that the folks that live there will see, and your diagram shows a criteria of putting, I mean, somebody drew this and put a 5-story building next to the low-density neighborhood and said, this is our accommodation for compatibility. If you lived in this house and 120 feet away was a 5-story building, would you consider that accommodating and respecting your neighborhood? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Jason Lesser.
It's the same issue that we talk about all the time with no resolution. And I think it's time for the commission to show its leadership and to not let it happen, not destroy an existing neighborhood for a new neighborhood that you happen to like better at this point in time. We have vested interest in these properties just like anybody does, whatever range they're in. It's the American way to kind of live where you are comfortable and what your economics allow. That's not a bad thing. That's a pretty good thing. With some assurance that after having made these commitments, you could live out your time in a way that would allow not to have to fence, not to have to barricade yourself in, to have a little bit of privacy and a little bit of benefit from your efforts that you worked so long and hard for to establish whatever criteria you have for yourselves. So what would be interesting is now that we've been given an opportunity with this law that's before the state legislature that's passed, just waiting for the governor's signature, to take this time to reevaluate where we are in this process and to not sacrifice one neighborhood for another that doesn't exist. So we would appreciate that consideration, a reassignment of staff to deal with us and this, and to try to give some merit to the council's leadership. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Next speaker is William Elmhurst.
Yes, William Elmhurst, and I have been a resident of Largo for 58 years, and in this neighborhood for 44 years, raised our family there, have loved the benefits of being a resident of Largo. And one of the residents, as far as the benefits that I have appreciated in Largo, are the beautiful parks, the recreation centers that have been provided for use. And I have, and my family have made very good use of that, particularly Eagle Park and also the park there at where the Highland Center is. One of the things that we have in our neighborhood is essentially like another park for Largo, because it is not a closed-off neighborhood. The There's plenty of access for people to walk on the roads there, and a lot of bicyclists, joggers come in from other neighborhoods to use our properties. Even though it's a private road, that's fine. We welcome them. Baby strollers and even a wheelchair with a helper there, with a lady on the wheelchair who goes through the neighborhood and uses that neighborhood for their use. That's another big advantage that we have in the neighborhood is that's the benefit of the wildlife. There's plenty of rabbits, squirrels. There's plenty of birds, foxes, and in particular, in my house, where I live, we had a family of great horned owls that set up residence there, and I'm right on the edge of that between our residence and what would be the activity center. So the owls there that found their place there have raised 2 youngsters there, and we were able to watch it, and many people came by and enjoyed it. So I want to emphasize that the trees that we have in the neighborhood and the wildlife and the environment for the wildlife has been very, very valuable to Largo and to the community that is there. In fact, I even took the opportunity to do a picture book entitled Owls at Kent Place. And we got to see these owls and the little babies there. And this particular owl here is the mother or the father, I don't know which, is right on the edge. In other words, this 5-unit apartment building would be right behind the owl. So please consider the importance of keeping the neighborhood and the densities and the protection of the neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Roberta Hoskin, and she's representing Margaret Checkelard, Ella Caden, Fred Hoskin, and Robin Melhoun.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, City Attorney, City Manager. My name is Roberta Hoskin. I live at 1835 Alicia Way in the subdivision affectionately known as Kent Place. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the timeline. This situation involving the Barati property has been going on for quite a while. We went toe-to-toe with them in 2015. The county turned down a density change, a land use change. It's come back up again when you annex the property. 13 months ago at a city hall, we asked about a flume because city staff insisted that there was no flume required, that the Tri-City plan was above everything, and they could, the developer by right could develop anything they wanted. So it took us 13 months to get a response, and the way we got that was we had to file a FOIA. We had to hire an attorney in addition to our government relations specialist, and we've had a number of meetings, but we've really just been ignored. Only after all of this, after 11 months, did the city attorney concede that a flume was needed. And in his email, he says, "Now I understand that a flume is needed." He also says the developer is supposed to apply. And that makes me ask the question, why is the city pushing this? The city manager responded to a question that I had sent to the commission, and he said, well, we're doing it anyway. So after this stonewalling, after all this time, I don't understand who we're supposed to believe. The city manager who said, well, we're just going to do it, or do we believe your city attorney who said the developer needs to apply for it? So I don't understand why this is continuing. There's no development plan, there's no site plan, there's no application. The other interesting thing is the word, and I'll talk more about this, distant. And I gave you a handout. You've seen this, you've heard this over and over again. I underlined the word distant, and I thought, what does that mean in real estate law? Well, there's not really a definition for it. So I went to Oxford, and they said it means far away in space and time, distant parts of the world, far off, far away, remote. Merriam-Webster, I like them, she said, a distant galaxy, having a great amount of separation. And Black's Law Dictionary said this word is used in law chiefly as the antithesis of proximate, very or relatively close. What the city has done, what they're proposing, is a setback. You're using the wrong criteria. You think a setback is what fits the flume requirement for distance. It does not, by definition, meet that criteria. You're supposed to be distant. You're supposed to protect neighborhoods. You are supposed to put together the Tri-City plan is supposed to put together all of these different plans. We've heard the SAP plan, the comprehensive plan, Largo's plan, Tri-City. You're supposed to put this together and protect neighborhoods. That's not what is happening here. So I'm asking you not to pass either of these amendments because this is still, frankly, a mess. The choices that we have tonight, 3 out of 4 are bad for existing neighborhood. We are your taxpayers. We pay your salaries. We expect to be protected. We expect you to follow the rules that you wrote down in Tri-City that said you will protect neighborhoods. This plan, as written, number one, staff is not following the plan. They are not complying with this document. This overlay, or excuse me, this activity center, whose idea was it to stick it next to rural communities, rural estate and rural residential? Where does it say in Tri-City that you can even do that? I couldn't find that. I didn't see it in the development code. Maybe there are some magic words, but who did that? Was it the consultant or was it staff? Who did that? And we've asked, who did that? And no one's answered us. All we hear are crickets when we ask that question. We've asked a number of questions. Why are you not following the location criteria on the flume? And what gives you the authority to not use the word distant? Why are you trying to stick in setback and buffer, which do not apply in this case? So I'm asking you not to pass this amendment or the other amendment unless all of you understand all of the ramifications that this amendment has. If you understand it, then vote for it. But you don't understand every aspect, you should table it. You should not vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Clay Gilman.
Good evening, council members. I'm here on behalf of the affected parcel owners. It's 17068 US 19 LLC and Ameripride Property Management and Real Estate Services. We understand that this item may need to be continued due to the Senate bill. And frankly, we think that's the best resolution to allow the Senate bill to play out. The Senate bill will make void any amendments more restrictive to development until October 1st of 2024. And, that's a long time to wait, so we understand the city wanting to continue it to see if there's a resolution. So we would not object to a continuance and frankly would support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is John Larkin.
Good evening, John Larkin, president of the HOA for Kent Place and Allens Creek. I can see why Clay would like you to table this or stay this so we can get to the Flume amendment next, which incorporates that property into Tri-City, because then all of a sudden we have this property in Tri-City with no setbacks, no buffers, no anything. So one of the consequences of, and this is a tough one, it's catch-22. Right now, as it exists, there's little to no buffer, whatever it is, 5 or 10 feet. This provides something, 130, but it could be nullified anyways. So one of my points is, let's take SB 250 out of it. Between this one and the flume, you have 4 possible outcomes. You have a yes and a yes and a no and a yes, and a no and a no. All 4 of those can yield a different result for densities and setbacks. Now throw in SB 250. Well, now you have 8 possible outcomes, which have different implications on the allowable setbacks and densities. If you all on the commission can understand each of those 8 outcomes, that's good, because I live in this thing, and I'm barely on the edge of understanding it. What I fear is just what Clay said. You cannot vote this down or table it with no resolution to make it better, and then subsequently, in the next motion, approve the flume. That puts 25 to 35 units 5 foot from the border. If you leave it, the flume, not adopted, then that property stays at the current state, which is a maximum density of 10 units per acre. So you see where that goes. So point being, it's a complex situation. 8 different outcomes. I highly recommend, if you're going to table them all of them. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all the cards.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission? Mr. Gerard.
Thank you. I do want to thank everybody who spoke. This is a very important issue to the property owners and to the residents, and I appreciate that. I have a couple of questions, and a good question was brought up. Why is the city pursuing the flume and not waiting for the developer to ask for it? All right. Okay. My understanding is that, by the way, of Senate Bill 250, if we were to pass this this amendment in front of us right now, even if the governor signs it after we pass it, the ordinance, the amendment would become null and void. Is that correct?
Right.
Right.
Yes.
So if we do pass it and the governor signs it, and of course it was a priority of leadership, so I understand there's some questions about it, but this priority of leadership. So if he does sign it, then whatever we do tonight is null and void.
As it relates to this item.
As it relates to this item. I'm cognizant of the need to develop more housing for the people who are moving here all the time and the people who are working hard and can't afford the cost of housing today. People who are earning what used to be a livable income are seeing their rents just blown through the roof, and they're becoming homeless as a result. There's a need for that, but there's also, for me, seeing that there's a need for people who've been living here a long time that perhaps, not suffer as a result of the need for more housing. There was an issue that came up, I think it was close to 2 years ago. There was a developer who wanted to develop a hotel, a noted brand of hotel on Walsingham Road, on a property on Walsingham, and that plan that they were working on abutted a neighborhood. And they were told, you can't do this because it abuts the neighborhood, and it is detrimental to the people who are living there, to the residents. So I see this as somewhat along the same principle, even though that wasn't a special area. It was still a neighborhood with a multi-story structure backing up to their backyards. So As it stands right now, there are a lot of questions. I was very much in favor of passing this and moving on, but I'm questioning it now, whether we should just, give it some time and wait. I know that the developer has rights, the property owner has rights to development too, but we're looking at clashing rights right now, and I think it needs to be worked out a little bit more. So, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask staff if you had an answer for the first question that Commissioner Gerard had as far as why was this, if it was a staff originated idea for the future land use amendment, or why not the developer?
Sure. So when the original Tri-City Special Area Plan was implemented, it is correct, we did have the understanding that those land use regulations and standards would carry over before we did receive the guidance that each one of these properties, as they come annexed into the city, would require their subsequent FLUMA. So we were given the guidance due to the interest in filling out the Tri-City Special Area Plan and not having these kind of pockmarked areas where some properties that are in that boundary do not have those standards, and some do get passed and are implemented. We want to create that unified idea that the Tri-City was supposed to adhere to.
And so this also happens in the like West Bay Drive plan or Clear Largo Road district, where probably not West Bay Drive because there's no parcels being annexed in, but the Clear Largo Road district on the north end, as parcels come in, we will generate a future land use map amendment at this point to bring them into that Clear Largo Road plan.
That is yes, sir.
Okay. Commissioner Holmes.
I guess predicated upon what Clay said, you have a developer who has filled out the paperwork to get something going over there? Yes?
We have held a DRC meeting and held a neighborhood information meeting for the most recent proposal, but at this time we have not received a final site plan application from the developer.
You have no final site plan at this time?
At this time, that's correct.
Okay. Do you anticipate one coming in the next couple of weeks, couple of months?
I do not have an answer to that question.
The problem with this thing right now is you're like Solomon cutting the baby in half, okay? We can turn this thing down awaiting Senate Bill 250. You still got the flume sitting there, which the flume, it's my understanding, is not affected by Senate Bill 250. Is that true?
That is correct. That's our understanding, yes, sir.
Well, Mr. Zimmett is listening to all of this. I'd like his opinion on some of this stuff right now before we proceed on it. Do you object to that, Mr. Mayor?
No. Mr. Zimmett.
I'm here.
Yeah, we can hear you. Thank you.
Great. Commissioner Holmes, what would you like my opinion with regard to?
Oh, I wish you could speak up. We can barely hear you.
Okay, I can speak louder.
Okay, very good. Thank you. We have heard this thing has gone back and forth for months now. So we have one issue here. If SB 250 is, if the governor signs it, then the first part of the CDC is null and void regardless of what we do tonight, correct? But
correct.
If we do that right now, what we've passed on the CDC is actually a benefit to the 3 neighborhoods that are surrounding that. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right.
It would be more restrictive, which is why Senate Bill 250 would apply.
All right. So if we go ahead and we approve this, and then we get into the flu, okay? Now, there's been a back and forth on this thing, and what effect would it, if any, what effect would the flume have on the neighbors then? Because have we increased the density on this thing now?
Yes, the overlay allows for possibility of the developer to take advantage of additional density that's made available through the special area plan.
So we've got one item is a benefit to the community, the 3 neighborhoods that are surrounding it, but the next 2 items are detrimental to those 3 communities. Is that correct?
That's not a legal, that's not a legal question.
All right, we're just talking math here, okay? Forget the legal, we're just talking math. I mean, none of us are gonna have to spell any good big words up here. But anyway, just the math. The density would increase under the next 2, correct?
Correct. In your items 9 and 10, they would allow those properties to take advantage of the additional density that's provided for in the Tri-City plan.
All right, thank you very much. I have to think on this for a minute.
Thank you.
Mayor, while I have the floor, can I just make a comment? I think it would be beneficial, given the fact that you're looking at an amendment to the CDC and the fact that we've received some threats of litigation, that we try to confine the comments to each item separately. I mean, item 8 applies throughout the Tri-City special area, not just to the 2 properties that are subject of 9 and 10. And so it would be beneficial, I think, if we can keep our comments to the specific item that is before us. So in this case, we're looking at item 8, which is the amendments to the CDC to provide for additional buffers, step backs and setbacks. And so I would give that, advice to the commission that would be best. I understand it may affect the properties that will directly be affected by 9 and 10, but it is also affecting potentially other properties.
Thank you. There was a question about how was the Tri-City plan placed on these parcels? And I know that there was a consultant that was hired to take a look at the Tri-City and to establish a special area plan for that area. I'm sure that staff was involved. I have my guess because the parcel, I think, touches US 19, and so the plan was to go the parcels along US 19. Am I correct?
Yes, there's the county, Fort Pinellas has countywide plan rules, and for activity centers, which this is designated an activity center, there has to be a certain distance from a primary transportation corridor, which is US 19. So I don't know what the distance is off the top of my head. I think it's, it's a half mile or a quarter mile, something like that. So the consultant used the guidelines for establishing activity centers that the county has put in place.
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Commissioner Holmes.
All right, I'm going to go back to my math question again. I understand what happened, the ramifications of number 8. So if we're looking, I'm just going to do math. I'm not asking for a legal opinion here. Under 9 and 10, if we said no on 9 and 10, what's the city's liability on that, or is there any?
What? Can we ask that during that?
All right, don't answer it. Never mind. I can tell by the... I'm just trying to get my head around this thing, because we're not going to please everybody, but we got to get pretty close to the people who have been there since day one. We got 3 neighborhoods that are on 3 sides of this project here. In lieu of someone just stepping up to the plate and say, we're going to buy this property and plant corn or whatever. You got a developer who's going to have development rights there, and you got 3 neighborhoods that we're trying to protect one way or another. Okay, we can perhaps vote no on 8, but that's something that SB 250 can just, we can vote yes, but SB 250 will just nix the thing out. So this is really somewhat of a mess. I mean, in a perfect world, if it were up to me, I would postpone voting on all three of these things until we have some really clear direction as to how these three items relate to one another. I mean, is that a viable alternative right now? Because a couple of these people said, you know, number one, what's the hurry? Well, that's a good question. We don't know what the hurry is, and even Clay says, you know, they're willing to wait for this thing for at least a year. If we postpone it and we go back to planning and say, let's see if we can come up with something a little better for the three neighborhoods out there, is that feasible, or are we putting the city in harm's way?
If that is that, I assume that's a question for me. I'm not really sure how to answer that if you're putting the city in harm's way.
Well, I mean, you can sue a ham sandwich. I mean, I'm not talking about that. I mean, I'm just
again, we are mixing items 8, 9, and 10. You have not heard public comment on item 9 or item 10. Mr. Clay hasn't had the opportunity to speak to number 9. He said that his client didn't object to delaying consideration of this item, item 8. Well, item 8 would make his client's property, would be more restrictive on him, the development of his client's property. So I'm not surprised that they would welcome delaying that item. But I'm not sure that their position is that they're going to welcome delay of item number 9. So I wouldn't take it what he said was relates to item number 9.
Could I ask a question?
Go ahead.
So if ordinance number 2327, the current ordinance we're talking about, was passed and the governor signs Senate Bill 250, does it make it as if it never happened, or does it just postpone the enactment until the date that was set forth in Senate Bill 250?
No, it makes it as if it never happened.
Okay.
And it's retroactive.
Right, so it doesn't matter, understood. Retroactive to the date of landfall, I believe, right? Or
Right, so in your case, if you adopt it today, it would be retroactively null and void as of today.
Yeah, sure. So my preference on this ordinance is that we pass it, and if the governor takes away this buffer that we're trying to provide for all of the residents that abut up against this activity center, so be it. We're kind of back to plan, whatever. But I think that we've discussed this ordinance to help protect the neighborhoods around the Tri-City area that are more rural in nature, and I think it's a fair protection. So I would support passing this, and if the governor takes it away from those neighborhoods, that's a challenge that we're going to be presented with, of course. But I think it's an important protector for the neighborhoods, and I think that it's a good addition to this special area plan, and something we should consider in others as well. Commissioner Robinson.
Thank you. I would like to echo a lot of your statements there. I believe that we need to look at this, as the attorney said, as individual matters, which they truly are. And I spoke to this at the last time we talked about it in our last meeting in May. And to be honest with you, I wasn't in favor of it to begin with. And we talked through it, and I can understand some of the concerns of the residents. But I also want to continue, and I made this comment back in May, this does not just affect the neighborhoods that are represented here tonight. This affects the entire SAP. So we need to look at this as that whole. I truly respect the folks that have been here, and there's obviously a lot of people give me the dirty eye right now. And I think our staff has done a great job of taking some of the recommendations from this commission, as well as some of the recommendations from the neighborhoods that have discussed it with them. I don't think we're going to get perfect and be able to continue perfect for what you believe might be perfect. what some of those residents might believe might be perfect, and still have be able to entice and want, or, have developers come in and develop in that SAP. Because if you start putting in larger restrictions and there's not going to be any room to put any type of property or any development on some of those things. So again, I want to make sure that we're looking at, I want this commission to understand that we need to look at this as the whole SAP, not just the two properties that we're going to talk about here in the next couple of minutes. And again, while they do relate to each other, they are separate. So again, I'd support what the mayor said, and we'll support this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I move to adopt ordinance number 2023-27 on second and final reading.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Could you pull the board, please?
Commissioner Smith?
No.
Commissioner Holmes?
Yes.
Commissioner Gerard?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hulk?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-1.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance number 2023-41 on second reading.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission. The case before you is the second reading for a proposed future land use map amendment for the property generally located at 17068 U.S. Highway 19 North. The proposed amendment would implement the standards of the Largo Tri-City Special Area Plan urban scale as an overlay to the subject property, with the site retaining its existing underlying future land use map classifications of commercial general and residential low medium. The case was previously brought before the City Commission for first reading on May 16th of this year. Passing by a 5-2 vote, staff was authorized to transmit the proposed amendment to Forward Pinellas for administrative review as a Tier 1 amendment, meaning that on the countywide plan map, the classification didn't change. A response letter was subsequently transmitted by the county dated June 6th, which reaffirmed that this property was previously classified as an activity center through adopted county ordinance CW 21-07. There have been no changes to the proposed ordinance since first reading. However, for the record before you tonight, staff would like to rectify language indicated in the Fire Protection, Rescue, and Emergency Medical Services section of the staff reports provided at first reading. The original report indicated that the subject site was located within a 4-minute response radius of Largo Fire Rescue. This was sourced from incorrect data. Per the current Emergency Medical Services Advanced Life Support First Responder Agreement in Section 403, Largo Emergency Services is able to respond to the subject site within 7.5 minutes. As the property is still sufficiently able to receive emergency services from the City of Largo, this correction does not alter staff's final review and recommended approval of the proposed amendment. Staff recommends approval of ordinance 2023-41 upon second and final reading, and if approved before the commission tonight, the proposed FLUMA would become effective 31 days from today on July 21st, 2023. Staff is available for any questions.
Ordinance number 2023-41, an ordinance of the City of Largo, Florida, amending the City of Largo Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map by amending the classification of the within described tracts of land generally located at 17068 U.S. Highway 19 North from commercial general (CG) and residential low medium (RLM) to commercial general (CG) and residential low medium (RLM) with the designation of Largo Tri-City Activity Center as an overlay, consistent with the City of Largo Comprehensive Plan, amending the future land use map on file in the Office of the City Clerk pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 163, Part 2, Florida statutes and the countywide rules, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have any cards on this?
Yes. First is Richard Gehring, and he's representing Christine Larkin, Randy Mears, Bruce Smithson, Andy Quarton, Ashley Oakes, Michelle Naylor-Petton, Cannon Feshbach, and Joseph Schooner.
Richard Gehring, 605 Palm Boulevard, Dunedin, Florida, 727-480-7684. These are intricately connected, and you can sit and separate them, and the city attorney can wish that he had nirvana of no conflicts. but they cross over each other. And in this particular action, there's not only the crossover that I outlined in the categories of districts, and I can't ask the city attorney this question, but I wish Mr. Mayor Brown would ask, how do you resolve the issue of the category for real estate requiring distance from activity centers, and you proceed to make this action tonight? You are bringing an activity center to that site. It's not there today. We argued this case extensively in the unincorporated area of the county because this site from 19 all the way to the property boundary for years had C2 from one end to the other, and whenever the company that owns it now bought it, they wanted to push the C2 all the way to the property. The county agreed to protect it with medium density residential, and they amended the land use plan, and that's what's on there today, medium density residential. It does have commercial out on the 19 frontage. But it's in that extent that I think that boundary for where the MDR is where the boundary for the overlay should be. You're bringing the overlay right to the abutting edge of the property. And the elements that are in here, in an earlier document I provided you, issues of proximity, privacy, value, noise, light, scale, quality of life, open space, and transition, are all substantive land use terms that get used by planners to get neighborhood A and neighborhood B to live next door to each other in harmony. And I would say that what you're doing does not exist and apply that. I would also say that I had extensive conversations in the early days of this application when it was trees for you or something. And Taylor and I had much extension because he kept representing this entire site as being commercial neighborhood, which it has no commercial neighborhood designation, which is a land use category you do have. But it harkens me to go back and study in your adopted comp plan document for the Tri-City SAP, the category of future land uses, which is on page 80 of the document, and I've submitted this as far back as February 1st, because it creates a category where the county's wide retail and services category, which is CGCN, which is commercial neighborhood, and ROR, were appropriate to receive this 24, 25 unit and acre density. That's where this urban scale overlay was to go. And this subject property has residential low medium on it. And residential low medium is supposed to not exceed maximum density and intensity is supposed to be 10 units an acre. So somewhere in the adoption of the plan, of which your planners can't describe and define how it happened, or who did it, or in what action it occurred, but all of a sudden, this property, which I think was erroneously considered a CN, got an urban scale overlay in error. So you have 0.5 units an acre on Allen's Creek side, and you get 25 units an acre. If you've heard 100 zoning cases in front of, or land use cases in front of you as a commission, you know that the neighbors that take the transition, not having a transition that relates to what their density is. You take somebody with 5 units an acre and you put something at 15 units an acre next to it, and people are very upset. Try something at half a unit an acre and put 25 units an acre on it. That's enormous change in density. And this document, as adopted, says it should not have that urban scale. You all there's a lot of glazing that happens like, oh, can we research that? Mr. Mayor, you would have to ask the city attorney, you would have to ask the staff to delve into those questions because they are ripe in the nature of the act. And when I've said to them in numerous phones, workshops, Skype workshops, we said, why does this occur? Here's your adopted comp plan Tri-City SAP. And here's your CDC rules. Oh, those just didn't quite make it over into the CDC. Okay, they're both in the comp plan, but these are more restrictive. These talk about transitions. These talk about protecting abutting neighborhoods. But when it went over into the CDC, oh, it's a by right activity. They have the right to the 25 units an acre. There's no question we can't reduce it. We'll be litigated. So you've created a dichotomy of ability to assign land use and protect the neighborhood when your policies clearly say protect existing neighborhoods from growth strategies that are in conflict with the neighborhood. I can't come up with a greater conflict than what happens with the rural estate, 25 to 55 units an acre. There's a letter from our attorney. We raised the same questions again. We think that the criteria that you have, again, you review your own criteria. You have in your CDC a whole section of rules that apply to when you can make a land use plan amendment. And I would argue that you don't have the criteria met here to make this land use plan amendment. The first one is about public facilities. We've argued in front of you now, I think 2 or 3 times, that DOT has a serious problem about being able to exit this facility, period. You cannot bring it into the decel joint between the off-ramp on 19 and the 1-lane southbound frontage road. How are you going to solve that? Well, as I've heard from staff, that's DOT's problem. Okay, well, if it ends up being a $25 million elevated ramping system, kills the project, and the 7-minute access to it for fire safety becomes 12 or 15 or 20, it'll be much more important. But we're willing to move forward with the density. We're willing to put the density on the property when we don't know the answers to whether you can service it from a traffic standpoint. Now, I can't get much more emphatic than making that very, very clear. But if you would not give this property its flume action, which has not been applied for, but is being pursued by staff, like there's some holy grail responsibility they have to go ahead and make sure this has the overlay. The overlay will grant them this density. I would want to defer it and make it later. And it applies, what I like about that is it applies the density that's actually in the table in the plan, because it's medium density residential and it's 10 units an acre. And this site could exist where half of it was in the commercial end, the other half of it is in 10 units an acre, and it'll end up being 1 or 2 story structures at a lower intensity, and it can be accommodated by the neighborhood. The neighborhood's always expected there was going to be some sort of multifamily product, townhouse, 2-story, next to other 2-story in the neighborhood, and they would work it out. But 25 units an acre, when they put all the development site on the west side of the property, which not you personally, but their staff allowed them to annex this way, has created another intensity dichotomy that the neighborhood has to deal with. So do not approve the flume. Let it rest. And come back to the neighborhood. I don't know why there's such an objection to sitting down with the neighborhood. When I sat down my first meeting on the phone with mayor and city manager, I got extensive discussion about how they like activity centers, but they don't really understand them. They don't know what the densities are. They just know they're a good idea and people want them to happen and they support affordable housing, et cetera, et cetera. That holy grail does not eliminate the rest of the policies that this neighborhood has to protect itself from increasing intensity on its boundary for no particular reason other than you're chasing growth. Now in Pinellas County, chasing growth there is no dirt. So you go along and provide this dirt, elevate these densities, and you're going to get someone to take them. But you are doing it on the backs of the Allens Creek neighborhood and the other abutting residential neighborhoods that expect your protection in the plan. And that's where last meeting pointed at the city attorney and just blankly said, you are wrong about this policy application, but I can't get anyone in legal to discuss it. I can't get anybody on the planning staff to discuss it in the detail it needs to be able to resolve and put in front of you a legitimate strategy. The neighborhood wants something that works. It just doesn't want to have 25 unit an acre crammed down its throat for 1.3 miles of edge. You voted 7-zip on the Walker case to turn it down when we were going to lose a 300-foot buffer, and you protected it. Thank you very much. We think this area should receive similar protection. Thank you.
Next speaker is Jason Lesser.
can't say it as well as Richard said it. But the future is tantamount to your leadership, you collectively. I don't understand creating the issue where we don't care what the future is. We built our residences there. We've lived there for over 40 years, most of the people in there, and we still have the same issue. You know, if not for those protective rights, why have a government at all? I don't see the point in it. If you're not going to look for the future, then what's the point of making plans? The future belongs to your leadership. And at some point, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, you're going to have to go back and revisit this. And the idea of getting a restrictive border along the property does solve the problem. It solves it for the future going forward. And I just don't understand how that argument gets minimized to the point where, you know, we'll just shove it off and let them fight it out in the next round. There's no entitlement to the zoning. They have no more entitlements than we have. We bought there knowing what the zoning was, what the surrounding zoning was. We've defended it on numerous occasions, and I don't see any reason why this is any different. And everything Richard said is 100% on point. So we're looking for you, the commission, mayor, city manager Schubert, to provide that leadership and protection for our property rights. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker is William Elmhurst.
Thank you very much, Mayor and commissioners and city manager. Yes, what has been stated here is very important to all of us as residents of this neighborhood. We love Largo. We enjoy Largo, and we enjoy the community that we have lived in for over 40 years. Some of us as much as near 50 years in this community. And yes, I have taken time in the past to show pictures of my owls and my baby owls in here that were raised in that right on that edge. Here's a picture here of two baby owls right here. Is there a way to put it on a?
Yeah, it's up there.
Certainly.
Can I put it?
No.
Sure, we can. Okay, go ahead.
Let's show this picture right there. Let's see. They were raised on the edge of this property, and if you look over to the, there they are. Look at those two guys there. And they were raised by their, I don't know, I guess you call them mom and dad. I'm not sure what else to call them. But they were raised there because trees, the beautiful trees that in that property there, and for the wildlife, and just look at those two guys there. They were raised right there on that edge of that property that includes the edge of what we're talking about here. And we had that opportunity to enjoy, to see them being raised. One actually fell out of the nest, and they were able to climb up on an oak tree. I don't know how he was able to do it, he or she, to get up there and get on a branch, and the mother provided food for that little chap there until it got big enough to where it could fly away. But all of this is so valuable to have those trees there and have the buffer there. Instead of having those owls look back at an apartment building a couple 100 feet away or maybe 130 feet away, they could be there very content and to grow up and to eventually fly away, these great barn owls here. And so yes, we want this area protected, not only for the life of the residents here, but also for the wildlife that we enjoy, and that is part of Largo and part of what you here tonight give consideration. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Roberta Hoskin. She's represented Margaret Checkelard, Ella Caden, Fred Hoskin, and Robin Melhelm.
Hello again. Gave you a copy of the comp plans, the Constitution of Communities. If you read this, and if you believe it, and if you follow the values of Largo that supposedly believe in this, you will not vote for this amendment. You're supposed to ensure compatibility. There's not compatibility between an apartment building next to rural communities. You're supposed to protect stable neighborhoods from possible negative impacts due to incompatible land uses, blighting influences, and density increases. These are all the things, you guys are just ignoring this. These are all the things that are happening, that would happen if you pass these amendments, or this amendment. You're not using the location criteria. I go back to the word distant. The activity center is supposed to be distant from rural residential and rural estate. Also, you've given no consideration to Allen's Creek. That's an environmentally sensitive piece of water. That's about, this development would be within 800 feet. And it empties into that area, into the area right around that preserve that you protected with Walker Ford. Remember, they were going to vault the preserve so they could put a parking lot over it? They were going to do away with the preserve. Now you're going to allow pollution to go into the preserve if you pass this. And I didn't see anything really in Tri-City that protects water, but that should be part of what you do. So you need to follow the locational criteria. You need to have the activity center distant. That keeps falling on deaf ears. I get no response from that. I hear crickets when I throw that out. Mr. Mayor, I'd love it if you'd ask some questions about that. Land use planning should weigh heavily on the established character of predominantly developed areas when changes of use or intensity are contemplated. I can't think of a worse combination, putting an apartment complex next to a rural community. And we haven't really talked about the other two communities tonight. They don't have the means to fight you. They don't have the means to hire a lawyer or a government regulation specialist. And what you're going to do, if you pass this amendment to the 27 homes at Southern Oak Circle, is awful. They will be living in a fishbowl. They will have zero privacy. And the same thing with Donovan's Travel Resort. They've been there for 60 years. It's an over 55 community. Most of the people there are on a fixed income. There are year-round residents, and there are residents that come in from out of state. They will have zero privacy. They're going to be living in a fishbowl if you approve this amendment. So I'm asking you to follow the rules of this Constitution of Communities. Your eyes are glazing over, but you really need to do that. You're not doing that. The values of Largo say you're supposed to do this, and I haven't heard anyone even talk about the location criteria. Nobody on this commission has asked about the location. Why staff is not using the location criteria in Flume 1? Why isn't anybody asking that question? How do they get away with that? How do you do that? I want someone to answer that. I think that's a pretty reasonable question, and that's one of the many questions we haven't had answered. So you're supposed to be following standards and best practices for transitions needed between conflicting land uses. You have offered no transition. You've said, okay, here's the low maintenance, or here's the low density, and we're going to put this high density right here. Low density, high density. Just a few feet away. Let me just explain. We are not opposed to development in that area. We have no business being opposed to development. All we're asking you for is compatible development, something that is compatible with rural estate, and also something that's going to protect the creek, something that is not going to add to the creek. There's an apartment complex on the other side of Central Avenue. It's on the north side. There's garbage in the creek all the time that comes from that apartment complex. You have to come out a couple times a year to clean out the garbage that gets thrown into drainage ditches. And I'm sure you experience that in other areas of the city where drainage ditches, I mean, we've had to pull out mattresses. We had to pull out our own gate because someone broke our back gate and threw it in. So I am asking you to think about compatibility, and please do not approve something that is going to be detrimental not only to our neighborhood, but those two other neighborhoods that don't have the means to hire a lawyer and ask you to follow your own rules. If you put this through, you are not following your own rules identified in Tri-City. You are not meshing the different comp plans. You've just basically said, shut up and sit down. We can do this with the overlay. Deal with it. That's not a good value for the city of Largo to have. It's not a good attitude for the city of Largo to have against the citizens who pay their salaries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Clay Gilman.
Good evening again. Clay Gilman, 625 Court Street, Clearwater, Florida. I'm here representing the affected parcel owners, which are 17068 US 19 LLC and Ameripride Property Management and Real Estate Services. I first want to address Commissioner Holmes' comment, and Mr. Zimmett was correct. We were willing to delay the item number 8, but that is separate from item 9. We were not willing to delay this item, and we're not seeking continuance there. As to the annexation question, people keep referencing what's the hurry, what's the rush, why is the city pursuing this? When my client annexed into the city, they were told that the city would be applying for this on their behalf. Otherwise, my client would be the applicant here today. So it's not that the city is applying and we didn't try to apply. It's that the city told us that they would be applying on our behalf for this parcel. So my client would be the applicant otherwise. So I just wanted to clear that up. As to this future land use amendment, this is simply bringing this parcel into conformity with the countywide plan. The countywide plan already has this designated as an activity center, and while this is kind of a unique situation where the county approved this before the city now is simply bringing this into conformity with the county. The county has approved the activity center, and it would be extremely unfair to the property owner and property owners in the future if the city decides to not adopt the activity center where they were, where it's already adopted with the county, and now are telling the city property owners that they cannot then come into conformity with the county. It's a complete disconnect, and this just brings everything into conformity. I've heard many of the neighbors' complaints. My client has, they did not object to previous item that was approved. We didn't object back on May 4th. We didn't object here today. We asked for continuance. You approved it, and my client, is willing to abide by that. If the Senate bill is passed, that's out of our control. That's out of everybody's control. The property owners nearby now have a significant setback, and that is a huge detriment to the property rights of my client. But we're willing to not object, not fight that, and move forward. But the surrounding property owners seem to think that there is no limit to what they want. They want more and more pushback, and they have a huge setback now. So, it's our position that we have, gone along with the city. We've tried our best to be, helpful, and that we think that this is bringing us into conformity with the countywide plan and would be beneficial to the city. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Matthew Faustini.
Good evening again. Just want to say that I'm speaking again as a private citizen. I do want to say that this commission, city staff, have displayed an amazing skill, patience, kindness, and understanding throughout this entire process. And while I don't agree with everything our city does, this commission does, city staff does, I am glad to live in a city where people can come up here and truly make an impact on policy, like we've seen here, even when it isn't exactly what I hope for. As other speakers have said, this is mostly about bringing these parcels into conformity with the county standard. I've lived in Largo my entire life. I'm 34 now. I remember the first time I spoke at this commission. It was in 2008 as a 16-year-old trying to defend the Lake Palm Outreach Center from being closed. I've always been amazed by the tireless public servants we have in this community. And in my view, I've done everything society's asked me to do. I'm the first in my family to graduate college. I'm the first in my family to get a bachelor's degree, thanks in large part to our outreach program. I make more money than both my parents combined, adjusted for inflation, than when they bought their home in the 90s. And yet the idea of me being able to buy a home here in Largo, near my mom, my sister, my niece, my brother-in-law, it's a distant dream. I'm not alone. Commissioner Long spoke at the same housing summit I talked about earlier here in Largo that Mayor Brown also spoke at. And she said 1 in 3 people you meet is struggling to keep up with their rent or mortgage while juggling other basic things like groceries and transportation. These are our friends, they're our neighbors, our teachers, our kids, and our grandchildren. I urge you to think not just of a specific segment of Largo, but all 80,000 residents, especially with so many of us struggling to get on the housing ladder, whether it's millennials like myself, Zoomers, or hopefully building a future that our children will be able to buy affordable homes and stay and live here in the community we love and adore. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is John Larkin.
John Larkin, President, Allens Creek, Kent Place, POA. Thank you again for your time. I appreciate it. So here we are. This is kind of it. This is the 9th inning, bottom of the 9th, in fact. The flume, not to disagree, but the flume and the previous amendment are connected and intertwined, as is SB 250, of course. Because if we approve the flume today, and then later on SB 250 is signed, then the results are vastly different. So I'm going to strongly urge that we delay voting on this until we know what SB 250 is going to entail. It's a big difference in the consequences. The flume currently then, because of this, is the only protection for our rural estates neighborhood. That's it. If you vote yes and SB 250 is signed, all bets are off. There's no protection, not even a buffer, certainly not a transition. There is nothing. Well, we're not asking for a definite no, but at least we need to find out what SB 250 is going to do so we can figure out if there's some other protections that are going to be needed. And the reason is, as we stated, if you vote no, then the density stays at 10 units per acre, as it currently is. So they won't develop it until they can get the 25 to 35. This is not low-income housing that they're talking about building. A developer on their community night mentioned the area $3,500 to $4,000 per month rent. So the woes of folks out there wanting affordable housing, this is probably not the answer anyways. There are lots of other places to build in Largo. I don't know why this is just has to be done on this spot next to the rural estates neighborhood. And maybe if the owner ever showed up to any one of these meetings at all, he could tell us why, but he's not been to one. We've filled these chairs in every meeting that we've been able to be here at. So I thank you for your time. Once again, if you do vote yes to this and SB 250 is signed, there are then no protections for Kent Place and Allens Creek's neighborhood, not any. So I urge you to delay this until we have further clarity on where that thing is going. Thank you for your help. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's all the cards.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission? Mr. Holmes.
Excuse me. Henry, is it true that the city told the developer that they would apply for the flume?
It is our policy that, we originally believed that as properties were annexed into this special area plan, that they would automatically be covered by these provisions of the special area plan. So when we had that discussion with the county and decided that it was otherwise, that there would be an amendment to the future land use map as properties were annexed into the special area plan, so the provisions of that plan would apply, that we decided on the staff level that we would just automatically do that for all properties. And that's why there's two of them before you this evening, because these are the first two that would otherwise be holes or enclaves within that special area plan.
It's funny, it's the first I've heard of that. There was a point brought up about the transition, and I have to go back and reiterate what we were just told, because if SB 250 goes through, these neighborhoods back there, the three neighborhoods, they have no protection whatsoever if we approve this ordinance here. And as far as the transition is concerned, I haven't heard anything to mitigate that. Do you have?
I can speak to that a little bit. So the Tri-City Activity Center includes two different types of activity centers. You have the transit core, which is the most dense activity portion of the Tri-City, and that's at 30 units per acre base, up to 60 units an acre with any kind of density bonuses for affordable housing or green building. And then you have the urban scale activity center, which is what this property is located in, and that is a less dense 25 units per acre base, up to 55 units per acre for the bonuses. So the way the Tri-City Activity Center is set up, the transit core does not touch any properties that are in this very low density category. Itself, the urban scale itself, which is the less dense portion of the activity center, is supposed to be kind of like a transitional buffer for properties that are directly abutting that have the very low density. So that in itself is kind of a transition. And then also we have in the Comprehensive Development Code language, when a property is abutting the portion of an activity center that has additional setback requirements, which was the subject of the previous agenda item, they were only, as it was written, I think it was an additional 5 units per acre above the, anything over 2 stories. I'm sorry, 5 feet setback additional over anything that was over 2 stories for each story above that. So that was also supposed to serve as a transition. So by passing the previous ordinance, we are now really increasing that transition from, for this particular property that we're discussing, it went from 25 feet to now 130 with the changing of the, Comprehensive Development Code, the previous item. Does that make sense?
Yeah, partially. I need to go back and ask you a question. You said the density changed from 25 to 55?
That is what the urban scale overlay,
Okay,
which, yeah.
Okay, because we were just informed that this is strictly luxury housing. This is not going to be, this is going to be a little step above market rate. Would they be entitled to any of these bonuses on this thing?
I can answer. So the proposals that we have gotten, the most recent proposal and the first proposal, neither one of them were planning to use any affordable housing density bonuses.
Okay, so the 55 is not correct. It's probably going to be 25.
Right. I think what Diane was saying is that the base density of this overlay would be the 25 units in acres, but if they were to utilize the available bonuses of the Tri-City, they could go up to that 55 as a maximum for that overlay.
What about the comment about compatibility? That was really interesting, because if you look at the neighborhoods that are surrounding this thing, well, I mean, the three neighborhoods, but where does this compatibility come in? Because even when you're talking about 130-foot setback, well, that's nothing. I mean, you're talking about how far Tom Brady threw a football. I mean, that's really not that's not a big distance.
Well, it's quite significant compared to any other place in the city that currently has setback requirements. Usually we're just having a landscape buffer that is can range from a type A buffer, which is 10 feet, to a type C buffer, which is 30 feet in width, and that would be dependent, like if you had an industrial property next to a low residential, single-family home or something, we would require that 30-foot buffer. So this is, significant compared to other areas of the city.
Henry, I do have another question for you. The attorney brought up that the attorney's been trying to meet with staff on this thing, and he said he hasn't gotten anywhere with it. Is there a reason for that?
I think that's a mischaracterization of the discussions. The attorney and our community development staff have had extensive communication with each other, both on the CDC amendments, the FLUMA issues, and the impacts of Senate Bill 250. So they've been working in partnership throughout this.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hulk.
I just wanted to clarify something in my brain here. So originally the FLUMA was approved by the county, correct? And then the property was annexed into Largo?
So it was a two-step process. Originally, the Tri-City went through a future land use map amendment back in 2021. That brought all of the properties within the boundary of the city, within the jurisdiction of the city of Largo. That classified those as activity center on the countywide map. Like I mentioned, as part of that separate countywide ordinance 2107, during that ordinance, the unincorporated properties that were within the bounds of the Tri-City, those were then classified activity center on their map.
Okay. And what else can be built on this? Is it just for housing? I mean, I just want to
So
clarify.
I don't have the allowable use table off the top of my head, but in terms of what can be built, because this does have that split underlying land use classification, Towards the rear of the property, in addition to the multifamily that was originally proposed, there is the option for most kinds of residential, whether it be townhomes, single family. It would be, the commercial general portion of the site is a little bit smaller, fronting US 19, so any land use that would be allowed in commercial general would have to be consolidated on that portion. So for all intents and purposes, other residential options are, right.
Two-lane road, yeah,
Right.
okay. Yeah, I just wondered that because of the situation with Donegan Road and not going, you know, when we talked with those people in that area about the apartments and not wanting it, and you know, and I remember talking to them and saying, you know, be careful what you wish for, because if we don't change that land use for residential, then it's still commercial. So, and now, you know, I think we might have been a little bit better off with some apartments over there. But, so that's why I was wondering, I wanted to make sure about this property here, that that wasn't going to happen there. Because, you know, I just look at it, it's along 19, I look at it as like, well, it's commercial property, so at some point, if you live on the other side of that, you have to almost think that eventually something's going to be built behind you. And then on the SB 250, so if it's approved, if we vote yes on this, and then SB 250 goes through, I'm getting confused on which way it changes, why it's different if we vote yes on this compared to voting yes on the first one. I just want to clarify
So
that a little bit.
I can speak to the FLUMA, and Attorney Zemek can correct me if I'm wrong, but because through this FLUMA process, we are bringing the properties, the two properties before you tonight, into compliance with the countywide plan map for standards that were approved prior to the retroactive date as part of Senate Bill 250. Our understanding is that even if that bill is to be signed, that would not impact these FLUMAs. So that's staff's understanding, and Attorney Zimmer, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Can't hear you.
I think you're muted. You're muted. Mr. Zemet.
Sorry, that is correct. If Senate Bill 250 is signed by the governor, then it will only affect the prior item, and that ordinance would not go into effect, meaning that if you approve this item, then the property could develop with the present setback landscape buffers that's contained in the CDC.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Is this, thank you, by the way, Ms. Hopkins, for providing this to us. And again, I served the last 8 years on the Finance Advisory Board, know the tax rates and, you know, our budgets really well. And, you know, I never sat on a planning board, and so this is a little bit new information for me. And so is this our current land use criteria that we have in our hands here? I don't know if you saw it, Henry, if you know if it is or not.
Have you seen it?
I don't have that particular document.
Can you hold it up? Just, that looks like it came straight out of our comprehensive development, or I'm sorry, our comprehensive plan.
Okay.
Yes.
And so my question is, you know, we're going from, so residential estate, is that an accurate categorization of the properties abutting this particular, is that what we understand that at?
If we're referring to the Allens Creek properties, yes, those are all classified residential estate.
Residential estate, so RE. And so, and the description does say appropriate to locations, distance from urban activity centers. And I don't know, I mean, distant is obviously, I don't know, there's probably no formal legal description difference there. But well, how many, we only have the first page of this, but how many other residential classifications are there between this one and the 25 units per acre? Because these are going up like 2.5 units an acre. How many different additional, do you have any ideas, or is it 2 up from here or 5 up from here? I'm sorry. just got this, I'm just curious.
If I can understand the question, but are you saying how many other categories would the?
Between residential, low, medium, and whatever the 25 to 50 units an acre, I guess urban scale classification.
So how many land use classifications have densities in between those two?
Yeah, I was just curious.
Probably 4,
4, okay.
maybe up to residential high, which is,
Residential, so it would go up to anything, up to commercial general, because commercial general is our highest base land use classification at 24 units an acre.
Okay.
And that's without an overlay.
That is without an overlay, correct.
And without any density bonuses.
Correct.
Right, okay. And then, I guess I have some concerns about SB, 250 passing and that, and not really having a proper protection for this neighborhood. I am concerned. I'm glad that, and again, all the hard work that you all have done on this is amazing, and I think the setbacks and the extra setbacks have been, fantastic. I mean, that's great that we made those concessions, and again, I'm definitely I'm in the construction industry, so I definitely understand the need to develop housing in our area. I employ 250 people, and I need housing for all those folks around here. So I do appreciate that we're doing this, but I do have some concerns about how SB 250 will affect this property and our decisions on passing our last item on the agenda. So thank you. That's all I've got.
Yeah, thank you, and I agree with you. I have a couple questions. First off is just a kind of a specifics question. Is this one parcel with 2 land uses?
So this is 3 separate parcels. If you're looking at I know we all know what the property looks like. Unfortunately, I don't have a map with me, but the flag pole part of the property, that is a single parcel that is split between 2 different land use classifications, the commercial general, residential low, medium. And then the 2 flag portions, those are both also separate parcels. Both of those are residential low, medium.
Okay. And this might be for the city attorney. In this, I think it's from the CDC, that's been talked about, where it says the classification is generally appropriate to locations distant from the urban activity centers. Tell me what, is this, I mean, it reads to me as a guideline, not necessarily a rule. It also says, it also says generally located, distant, or appropriate to locations distant from the urban activity centers. Furthermore, it says it's an area serving as a transition between more rural. I'm not sure if there are more rural. Maybe there's a couple in the city. Parks maybe are more rural, and more suburban residential areas. So I just need to know what this is, and I know that you don't have it at where you are, Mr. Zimmett. But tell me what this the City of Largo's land use classification locational criteria, what that is in planning. And you may not be able to speak to this.
Community development staff may be able to speak to this too, but generally what I think you're referring to, and again, I don't have it for me, is one of the criteria that's contained in the comprehensive plan that guides you as to how to, or what to consider when considering a change to either a FLUMA change or a change to the CDC regulations or a change to the comprehensive plan. So those are criteria for you to consider. There's more than one criteria for your consideration. Just like the Tri-City plan was adopted as part of the comprehensive plan, and as somebody mentioned, it was adopted by Ford, Pinellas, and the Board of County Commissioners sitting as countywide planning authority as part of the countywide plan. So there are many criteria for you to consider when you consider a plan amendment like this one, and that is one of the criteria.
And okay. I think in the past it's been appropriate it's been a guideline that we've used when we're changing a land use from maybe commercial general to something else, and we base, where it exists in relation to other land. I think I'm good. There was some questions about transitions, and I think you mentioned a couple things, but what are some, is a buffer a transition?
I would say, I would qualify a buffer as a transition. That's how it's worded in our CDC currently. It's supposed to buffer land uses that are different.
Okay, and are there other areas in the city that, certainly there's not many areas that are like the neighborhood adjacent to this property that is part of this ordinance, but are there other areas where an overlay or an allowable density is much, much higher than an adjacent property in the city?
Off the top of my head, I suppose the closest thing I could think of is probably the properties on the periphery of the West Bay Drive Community Redevelopment District, our downtown area. The densities there are generally higher than the surrounding neighborhoods, but off the top of my head, that's the closest thing I could think of.
Okay, and in that West Bay Drive district, there's specific setbacks and buffers that are applied.
Yes.
When development happens, right?
Similar to the proposed language and part of the existing language of the Tri-City, there are considerations within the CRD plans that specifically call out properties adjacent to low-density residential development.
Okay, there was also a point that was brought up, and I think it's a good point, about the adjacent bodies of water, Allen's Creek, and what type of requirements would be required of any development, regardless of anything that happens here, to protect those bodies of water as far as like stormwater treatment or surface water runoff.
Certainly. So that is something, and apologies, I'm not an engineer myself, but that is something that we would work with our engineering team with through the site plan review sequence. They would be the ones who would require specific information regarding the draining and grading of the site to ensure that there's no deleterious effluents put into the surrounding water bodies. We haven't gotten, as I mentioned earlier, we don't have a final site plan, so we don't have their drainage, the Presidium's proposed drainage plan. So, but that is something that engineering would review prior to any sorts of approval.
Generally, a parcel like this would be required to do like on-site stormwater treatment before it gets.
Yes, because it is the only exception that doesn't have to do on-site drainage would usually be single-family homes, but for this instance, they would need to provide some sort of on-site drainage for their development.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Gerard.
Thank you. Remind me again, please, what is the total acreage of this parcel?
Total acreage of this property is 5.3 acres.
5.3 acres, okay. And if this were to be approved and we received a site plan and it was multi-story site plan, is it at the third story that we have to do a step back, or is it anything over a third story that would require a step back?
The wording of the language is commencing at the story, but Diane, do you have the exact story?
If I'm not mistaken, but that's why I'm asking. I think you can go up 3 stories, and then at the 4th, you have to step back, but I want to...
It can, with the code amendment that was just approved, it would be the step back of the building would commence after the 3rd story.
Which would be the 4th story.
Yes, the 4th story would have a 10-foot step back.
But you'd be able to go up 3 stories, which would be 30 to 40 feet, and I don't know what requirements would be for like flood mitigation or whatever. So, so do you have any idea? Would the ground floor have to be non-residential? You'd have to go up 10 feet or 12 feet at that site?
So this particular property is not located in a special flood hazard area. So therefore, per the building official and our chief floodplain administrator, it would not need to be elevated a certain distance.
Okay, but so 30 to 40 feet at the 3rd floor, and then you'd step back 10 feet. Okay. If we deny this flume, can the property owner come back and apply for the flume? Or is it a dead issue?
At this time, I don't see any reason why there would not be able to be a future application.
Okay. And this may be for Mr. Zimmett. If we were to vote to continue this, would we have to continue it to a date certain, or could we just say continue it to a future meeting?
So you can certainly continue it. Basically, you would table it, and if you want to, and basically we continue. You would give some direction to staff as to when to bring it back. You could continue it to a date certain. I have to tell you, I'll briefly tell you about another bill that's pending the governor's signature, which does many things, but one of the things it does is determine whether continuance to a date certain still requires another notice of the public hearing or advertisement of the public hearing. So even if you continue to a date certain, depending upon what the governor does with the other bill that's pending, you may still need to advertise a second public hearing again. But you have either option. You can table the item, give some direction to the staff as to when to bring it back, or you can continue to a date certain.
Okay. But if we deny it now, then you see no reason why the property owner can't immediately apply for FLUMA, and then there would be that period of time where we can see if the governor does anything. I am concerned that if we grant this right now and the governor signs it, which is a toss-up, but it's very possible he will sign it. And if we grant this now, then it has been pointed out several times that, the buffer that we created, the 130-foot buffer, goes away and everything goes back to status quo ante bellum, more or less. And I'm going to state again, there have been cases before the city where a multi-story building abutted a residential area, and not even a rural residential area, where the developer was told, no, you can't do that. And so I am concerned about that. If it was up to me right now, I would, when motions come around, when we're asked for a motion, I might move to deny it, just let the developer, reapply, as long as he has that right.
Thank you. Commissioner Holmes.
Yes. Question, if the governor does indeed go with SB 250, which would negate our item 8, how high could a developer go then? Could he go 5 stories there?
Yes, that is correct.
Could he go 8?
That would be the maximum for this area,
He could
yes.
go 8 stories then.
Well, yes, it would be 8 stories for this
They
activity
could go
center.
to 8 stories. So if the governor nixes 250, this developer could just go in and go to 8 stories if they want to.
With all the, if the last item is wiped away due to the governor signing, they would still have to follow the current standards in the Tri-City if this FLUMA is approved. But
Yeah,
in theory, yes.
I understand that. You want a motion there, Mr. Mayor? Is that enough?
I think we have a couple people that haven't spoke, or at least one. Commissioner Robinson?
So, thank you. Mike, I guess I just have a question for Commissioner Gerard. What would be the reasoning, or what would we want to postpone this for? What would be your reason? What would we ask staff to bring back to us to give us more information on?
It would just be
Sir,
opportunity.
I appreciate all your comments you made earlier, but I'm trying to listen to the conversation up here, so can you please try to keep it at a minimum so I can hear what's happening? I appreciate it.
The reason I would ask for it to be continued or tabled would be to see what the governor does. That's it.
But we don't know we'd have to bring it back to a date certain.
Not necessarily. If we table it, then we could instruct staff to bring it back whenever we want.
So,
that's
okay, yeah, I have a question. If this is denied, and because we talked about this scenario last time, and the previous ordinance that affords a larger buffer wouldn't apply to this property because it only applies to property within the Tri-City area.
That's correct.
And so by right, currently, what is the density, what's the setback? If this is denied and it remains outside of the Tri-City area, so then the previous ordinance wouldn't apply, regardless of what the governor does. What could happen on the parcel as it is now?
So we would have to take the density of both of the two different land use classifications. For the residential low medium, if we do not have the overlay, we are looking at those 10 units an acre and the 24 units on the commercial general portion of the property.
Would the developer be able to average those over, or would it just be, where that 10 units an acre is, they'd have to build lower density?
We would not average them out. The density would have to be contained per the land use.
Okay, and so the setbacks on the west side, the setbacks on the north and south side?
So if we go to the general City of Largo standards, and these, because it would be out of the Tri-City, it would no longer stack on top of the landscape buffer, so it would follow the general rule of 5 feet for the first 2 stories, and then an additional 5 feet for every story after that.
And is there a story limit there? I mean, whether it's by floor area ratio or...
Yeah, and I just also want to make a correction to an earlier question. For the residential low-medium category, the story limit would be only 4.
So 4 on the back parcel if it stays the same?
Mm-hmm. And then I think you had asked a question about the buffers as well. So for just the general City of Largo standard, it would now be a B-type buffer, which would be 15 feet.
15 feet.
And that's not in addition to the setback.
To a potential 4-story on the back side, back half, at 10 units an acre. I don't know if that works out back there or whatever, but, okay. Commissioner Gerard.
Okay, we need a whiteboard up here, I think.
Call Carl Rowe.
Yeah. So Taylor, if you can please clarify for me, on agenda item number 8, which we passed and has a 130-foot buffer, if the governor does not sign this bill, if he vetoes the bill, that 130-foot buffer would be there, would stand, right?
The 130-foot buffer, if the governor signs Senate Bill 250, that 130-foot buffer would go away and we'd go back to the general.
But if he vetoes,
oh, if he
then the
vetoes, I'm
130-foot
sorry.
buffer stays,
That's
right?
correct, yes.
And if we deny the land use amendment that's in front of us now, and it's not brought into the special area, are you saying that the 130-foot buffer would not apply to this property?
That's correct.
Because the 130-foot buffer only applies to the special area?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the buffer would be 15 feet.
Would be 15 feet.
Okay. And I know we've answered this before, but what is the current buffer that would be required in the Tri-City plan if the governor...
If he vetoes?
If he doesn't veto.
If he signs. We need a white...
signs.
If the current buffer right now would be 15 feet.
Regardless of whether it's in Tri-City or not?
That's correct.
So the existing, but you mentioned something about landscape buffer. Is that a Tri-City specific thing?
Well, I was going to say the Tri-City specific standard is that the required setback is added to the landscape buffer. So in the general citywide standard is that landscape buffers can actually be more restrictive and may supersede the setback requirements. But in the Tri-City, those two standards aren't meshed together. They have to be added together to create the separation between, from the property line.
So my question then is, same project, a 4-story building on the back parcel, if it's in the Tri-City area versus if it's not in the Tri-City area, without the additional buffer that we passed just a second ago. You follow me or not?
I think so. So the current project, actually, I'm sorry, could you repeat the question, Mayor Brown?
Yeah, so, sorry. I know this is getting really convoluted, but I think it's important.
Mayor, can and I apologize, but I'm having a very hard time understanding and hearing you with all the comments that are going on in the background.
Please, if you guys could not have conversations out there, I appreciate it. Thank you, sorry, yeah. So, we understand if Senate Bill 250 fails, and this is in the Tri-City area, the current thing we're talking about passes, there's going to be a 130-foot buffer for a 4-story building from the property line. If it's not in the Tri-City, this fails, what we just did doesn't matter, and it would be a 15-foot buffer potentially to a 4-story building. If it's in the Tri-City, would that setback be increased by the landscape buffer? Would there be a landscape buffer and then a setback? And what is that total?
25 feet would be, if the Senate, 25 feet it currently is, or would be if the Senate bill did not pass.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
that's what
so
the current.
If it's in the Tri-City area.
Tri-City, if it was adopted into the Tri-City. If it was not, it would only require a 15-foot buffer.
Right, so unfortunately, the smallest buffer afforded to the neighbors would be if we deny this, I think, regardless of what the governor does.
Do we still allow the multifamily on a residential low medium? Because that's the underlying land use. So they could construct a apartment complex on that RLM portion, and it could even potentially go higher than 4 stories because we don't have height restrictions in Largo. What dictates the height restriction is the impervious surface area ratio and the setbacks and the buffers. So, if they could manage to fit a larger, taller apartment complex on there and still meet the impervious surface ratio and the floor area ratio, that's what caps the height usually on properties in the city.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to get confusing there. Commissioner Holmes.
I can give you a couple of really good reasons why this should be denied. There has been so much conflicting information has come out on it, where you listen to the lawyers, you listen to the citizens. We have a lot of stuff like this. This is very interesting, by the way. I read the whole thing. There's a lot of work went into this that, I don't want to find fault with anybody on this, but it appears as though we could have done a better job on this particular ordinance here. I am concerned about the governor. He goes ahead, he signs SB 250, which means what we just voted on is a waste of time. Okay, fine and dandy, and all that means is the neighborhoods surrounding this particular project, they just lost whatever benefit they may have had from that bill. Okay? I have a problem with that because I don't want to go out to these neighbors and say, hey, too bad, you're going to have a 5-story building in your backyard. I don't want to get into that. I would rather that, and as Commissioner Gerard pointed out, there is nothing stopping the developer from going in and filing for the flume. There's nothing stopping him. But all that does is say, okay, the city told you we were going to do this thing, but the city commission didn't go along with what the administration said. But if the property owner wants to do it, fine. And then let them go and just come back with the actual project they want. This is what we're going to put in here. The governor has vetoed this. The governor said he's going to sign the bill, which means it gets canceled out. So they're going to be at the same square, they're going to be at the same place everybody else in the city would be in. And then you can go have your public hearings and everything else. You know, get the thing done correct, because this appears to be, we're just going back and forth on this thing. And obviously, there's just a complete lack of a gap of communication on this thing. And that's why I would just as soon deny this and let the developer go in tomorrow and file for the flume.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson.
You know, we were clarifying the setbacks if all these things fell into place just right. But what would the density be if we said no to this change? What would be the maximum allowable density on that site be? Is it 10 units per acre? Is that?
Right, it's a little tricky. It'd be the 10 units an acre on that back portion with residential low medium, and then 24 on the front. The math, I don't have the exact calculations in my head, but I believe it would essentially have the total amounts of units that the Tri-City could develop as.
Yeah, they would only be able to develop up to 10 units per acre on the RLM portion of the site.
Which is most of the bordering area.
Most of it.
Or all of it. Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Gerard.
Thank you again. My thought about perhaps denying and letting the developer apply for the flume might not have been the best option at this time. And I am working here to try to find the best option to protect the property owners in Kent Place and Allen's Creek. But we do have conflicting desires here. There's folks who want to protect their property value, and there are folks who want to develop to maximize the value of their property value. And we have to find the right decision. So let me ask again, just to clarify. If we deny this and a developer did not apply for the flume, then there'd be no setback requirements other than the fundamental 15-foot, right? Because he would now be part of the special area plan, right?
That's correct. They would follow City of Largo general standards.
So he'd be restricted to 10 units an acre on the back and 24 units an acre on the front, which of course is further away, but he could still put up 20 or 30 units depending on how large that back acreage is, that back lot. And he can go up as high as he wants.
It would be a little, yes, that's correct. I was just going to say it would be a little bit more difficult to concentrate units towards the front of the property.
Because of the flagpole.
Right, and because when they no longer be in the Tri-City, now they would have to follow the general center line setback of the City of Largo rather than the standards that bring the properties closer to street frontages.
Center line from the road.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. The 130-foot setback that we just voted on, and I want to clarify if I understand, is that on top of the 15 feet of landscaping? Would it actually turn into 145 feet?
No, that is with the landscape
That's
buffer
with the
accounted for. The 15-foot landscape buffer, and then 50 feet for each story of the building over 2. So that's where where the property abuts the Kent Place, Allen's Creek, that is a 30-foot buffer.
No, if everybody was if the governor did not sign and the flume passes, I'm telling you, we need charts and whiteboards up here. If then, but if the governor does not sign, if the governor vetoes, and so SB 250 is off the table, and the property owner we passed the flume and the property owner is now part of the SAP, then there would be a 130-foot setback, right?
That is correct, if it's
Is there a
vetoed.
15-foot setback, there's a 15-foot landscape buffer on top of that?
So if the bill is vetoed and they go into the Tri-City, the new standards that were just approved include now a 30-foot buffer plus
That's right.
those 50-foot
Yeah.
for each story above two that Diane mentioned, bringing the total separation from that property line to 130 feet.
Yes.
Right, the buffer in question, up to what the governor does, is the extra 100 feet, the 50-foot per, the 30 is the base. And
Well, the 30 is the base with the
for the
amendment that was
special
just
area plan.
passed, because we did increase we added a new category into the buffer table, which I forgot about, so that is that's the 30 feet, where now if it's not in the Tri-City, it would only have that 15-foot B buffer for the property on the west.
May I ask him?
Please.
All things being equal, which is not possible tonight, but in your professional judgment, based on what we've already done, which is to approve, which is to pass item number 8, and now we have this flume in front of us, what affords the best setbacks for the property owners in Kent Place and Allen's Creek? In other words, under what conditions, depending on what we do tonight, pass or deny, what would give them the best protection as far as setback goes?
As part of the proposed, the last item we just heard, that 130-foot setback for the hypothetical 4-story building, that would be the largest non-street frontage setback in the city. So that would give the largest separation from the property line.
But they wouldn't have the density allowed on the RLM, so the density would kind of keep it, it would not probably, I guess they could build a multi-story building there.
And they could build it right up against the back property
15 feet
line.
from the property line.
Yeah, and then put all their parking in front, right?
They
In theory,
could,
yes.
yes.
Okay.
There's one there.
And how many angels can dance on the head of a pin?
Any other questions or comments?
I move to adopt ordinance number 2023-41 on second and final reading.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Could you pull the board, please?
Commissioner Holmes?
No.
Commissioner Gerard?
Yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hulk?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
No.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-2.
Thank you. Next is ordinance number 2023-42.
Hello again, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Commission. This next case before you is the second reading for a future land use map amendment for the property at 15146 US Highway 19 North. This proposed amendment is also going to would also implement the standards of the Largo Tri-City Special Area Plan urban scale as an overlay to the subject property. And in this instance, the property would retain its underlying commercial general future land use map classification. This case was also brought before the City Commission on May 16th, passing by a 7-0 vote. This was also transmitted to Ford Pinellas for their review and comment. The same letter from the last case was provided, showing that this property was previously classified via countywide ordinance 2107 as activity center. There have been no changes to this proposed ordinance, but same for the last case. I did want to put it on the record that staff did rectify the response time in the fire protection, rescue, and emergency medical services section of the staff reports that you viewed upon first reading, indicating that per the Emergency Medical Services Advanced Life Support First Responder Agreement. The emergency service response time is actually 7.5 minutes for the site, not 4 as previously indicated. And as before, as the property is still sufficiently able to receive emergency services, this did not alter staff's final review and recommended approval of the proposed amendment. Staff does recommend approval of ordinance 2023-42 upon second and final reading, and if approved before the commission tonight, the proposed FLUMA would become effective on July 21st, 2023. Staff is available for questions.
Ordinance number 2023-42, an ordinance of the City of Largo, Florida, amending the City of Largo Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map by amending the classification of the within described tracts of land located at 15146 U.S. Highway 19 North from Commercial General (CG) to Commercial General (CG) with the designation of Largo Tri-City Activity Center as an overlay, consistent with the City of Largo Comprehensive Plan, amending the future land use map on file in the office of the city clerk pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 163, Part 2 Florida statutes and the Pinellas Countywide Plan rules, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have any cards on this?
I have one card, Matthew Faustini.
I'll be quick, I promise. Matt Faustini, private citizen. I know I'm a minority voice here, but I just wanted to comment on some of the conversations we've had today. Because if I was a developer or a property or a landowner, the conversation tonight would not be an environment that I feel is conducive to building in this city. Especially when you have places like St. Pete that's already allowing ADU and other situations. Also, when we talk about housing, whether it's luxury, workforce, we need to keep in mind that building luxury housing, even though I can't afford it, is important because it prevents gentrification. If we build those luxury units in places where near their headquarters, near work, they're not going to move into lower income areas and gentrify those areas and push out people who are currently living there. So we just need to take a look at that and make sure that we are really focusing, because we have a lot of high income areas. We have Tech Data, we have Duke Energy's Bayside Call Center, all within that reach of the SAP. So just want us to keep that in mind when we're talking about the SAP and encouraging development in that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission?
I move to adopt ordinance number 2023-42 on second and final reading.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next is item number 11. Thank you.
Great job.
Great
Thank
job,
you so
you
much
guys.
for your patience and help.
Mayor, Commission, thank you so much. Item number 11 is the approval of the First Amendment for the employment contract between the City of Largo and Ms. Meredy Simonis, appointing Ms. Simonis as the acting assistant city manager effective July 1st until a new city manager is employed with the City of Largo. As you all know, I will be assuming the role as the acting city manager upon Henry's retirement on June 30th, and I have asked, and Ms. Simonis has graciously accepted the role as the acting assistant city manager to help during this interim period until a new city manager is found. She will be supervising several internal departments as well as leading several projects, including the Fire Station 39 construction, the land management software project, and continuing to lead our homelessness policy working group. So this evening, I would recommend approval of the First Amendment to Ms. Simonis' contract.
Thank you. Do we have any cards on this?
We have no cards.
Any questions from the commission?
I move to approve the First Amendment to the employment agreement between the City of Largo and Meredy Simonis, appointing Ms. Simonis as acting assistant city manager effective July 1, 2023, and ending on the date a new city manager begins employment, including a 10% compensation increase during the acting period.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Item number 12.
This item is assignment of Largo City County funds from the opioid litigation to the Pinellas County City County Fund. The state of Florida and several other local governments engaged in litigation with the manufacturers and distributors of opioids. The result of that litigation is settlement funds to local governments throughout Florida who signed on to these litigations, and Largo was one of those that did that with the approval of the City Commission. The projected proceeds from this litigation over an 18-year period is $1,581,288, which is an average of $87,849 per year. The exact amount of the proceeds varies considerably from year to year based on these structured settlements that were reached with the various manufacturers and distributors. Due to the relatively small annual proceeds and the significant reporting requirements, staff recommends that Largo's proceeds be assigned to Pinellas County to ensure a more impactful use of the funds. The initial use of the funds by Pinellas County would be to pool our monies with other local governments here in Pinellas County to enhance a program that they started in emergency rooms at our hospitals here in the county to deal with folks who show up in the emergency rooms who are suffering from opioid addiction. I'm available to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Do we have any cards on this?
We have no cards.
Commissioner, this is going to be his last item he ever brings to us, so let's ask some questions. Commissioner Robinson.
That's why I was banging in quickly. So, not really a question, but a comment. And Henry, we've talked about this, in the past. I just want to make sure that, although I understand it is a relatively small amount of money, this is a concern and an issue here in the city of Largo. And I am willing to, share that or give that money, I guess, to the county for an overall larger program. But I just want to make sure that some of that help is coming back to the city of Largo, right? I mean, it was obviously designed to help patients that are dealing with this in the city of Largo. So I guess the question would be, what are the assurances that we are going to get that there will be some of this, brought back to the city?
Yeah, our staff will be working with county staff to see exactly how this will be implemented. There is going to be, it's a partnership between ourselves and the county, and we're going to have some role to play in that process.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Holmes.
Henry, you going to miss us? Yeah.
Yes, but probably not on Tuesday evenings.
All right. I just had one question for you. We're going to give the sheriff's department our share of this bounty?
No.
Well, it's going to go into a county pool.
No, the sheriff has nothing to do with this. This will go to the Pinellas County, the Board of County Commissioners, and I think it's their Health and Human Services Department is what will actually administer it.
But I just had a question. It took 63 pages to say we're going to tell the county, okay, you can keep it.
Yeah, and that was the actual agreement with the county is only 2 or 3 pages, but that was all the background information, and I think that sort of emphasizes all the complexities of receiving and then expending these monies.
Okay, thank you.
Do you know if any of the other larger cities are also doing this?
I know the smaller communities are. I'm not sure about Clearwater. I'm sure it's probably safe to say that St. Petersburg will probably do its own thing because that's what they usually do.
Sure. So with the understanding that if St. Petersburg is getting its own money, none of the county's focus would be in St. Petersburg, or some of it would be because they're getting county money?
It's still county-wide because it is a county-wide problem. And for instance, this first operation in the emergency rooms is at Bayfront, which is in St. Petersburg. It is planned on being extended to probably Largo Hospital and also to Morton Plant.
Okay, so I understand this. Each city gets a part, and then the county as a whole gets a part as well? Okay, thank you.
And there's actually some to get even more complex, there's actually some regional funding as well.
We don't have to get more
that doesn't work into this.
I'm going to into it later.
What happens if SB 250 is passed?
There's no effect on this.
All right. Mr. Zimmett, do you have anything? Actually, I'm
Got
sorry.
to vote on this.
We're going to vote.
I move to approve assignment of Largo city and county city/county funds from the opioid litigation to the Pinellas County City County Fund.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Great job. Mr. Zimmett.
Easy one's my first motion.
My turn now. Just congratulations to Henry. Enjoyed working with you and hope to see you in your retirement.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith.
I have nothing, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Holmes.
Nothing.
Thank you, Commissioner Gerard.
Quickly, I'd like to once again congratulate Dev for the winning the spelling bee, the Scripps spelling bee. That's really quite an accomplishment. You just can't congratulate a young man like that enough over all that hard work. I want to also congratulate and thank our code enforcement team. A lot of times they do go out there and they get unkind responses, and they have to keep their cool and do the right thing. And I wouldn't want their job, but I sure want them to have it and be happy at it. And then I do want to thank everyone for the input on items number 8 and 9 tonight. For the most part, what we heard was intelligent discussion, passionate perhaps, but respectful. And a lot of conflicting information was shared, and it was up to us to work it out and come up with the best possible solution when you are working with competing desires and competing interests. That's what we signed up for, and I understand that certain people's taxes pay our wages. I don't know how much what we get paid has to do with why we're sitting up here, but I do appreciate the folks coming out and participating. A lot of folks would just stay home, but these people did, and I'm empathetic to the situation. So thank you for that. And by the way, Henry, thank you too.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Robinson.
Thank you. Just real quick, also congratulations to Deb Shaw. It's great to see what will be a future Largo High graduate. And just doing great things. It just continues to emphasize my belief that, you know, we're in a good, the future's bright for the city of Largo. Then Henry, I just wanted to say thank you for, you know, the last 10, 11 years of working with you. It's been great. I can tell you that I will use you as a model for our next city manager. I think you've done a fantastic job over the last several years that you've been here. And I think the city, due to your leadership, is in a much better place over that time. So thank you very much for everything you've done. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Hulk.
Yes, also congratulations to Deb Shaw. It was amazing watching that fold out that night. Also, definitely want the code officers to know we really, really do appreciate you guys, because I don't think we'd be very good at your job. So we do appreciate you going out there and everything that you do. Taylor and Diane, thank you so much. You guys did a fantastic job tonight. Made things, believe it or not, easier for us to actually comprehend because there were several different directions that things were going in. So thank you again for all your hard work and perseverance up there. And Henry, it's been a tremendous pleasure working with you for the last 8 years, and we all know where you live, so. I'm sure, yeah. I'm sure we'll be passing by you here and there, and don't be a stranger. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson.
I just want to echo what's already been said. Thank you for our staff, that great presentation. There's a lot of new information for me, learning about zoning a little bit more. I got a lot of reading assignments to do. I assigned myself after tonight's meeting, so thank you. And Henry, thank you for your patience and your leadership of the city all these years. I've only gotten to work with you for a short period of time, but I certainly enjoyed it, and definitely admire the team you've built here. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. On my notes, I have dev and code. I read it as development code, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm supposed to be saying. But I just want to congratulate Dev again. As I told him tonight, we watched him from a sports bar up in Columbus, Ohio, with the whole family, and the Miami Heat game was going on at the same time, and by the end, the whole everybody in there was watching the spelling bee because the Miami Heat were getting beat and nobody was paying attention. So congratulations, Dev, and I'm super happy that he's going to Largo High. And the folks at the code enforcement, the community standards, they've got such a tough job, and they do a really great job here in the city. And I'm happy that we get to celebrate them for a week this week. You guys did a great job as well. I know it gets super convoluted, and you guys obviously know your stuff, and thank you. Henry, you're not allowed to change your phone number, because every now and then we're going to have a moment that we're going to be up here and we're like, Henry knows the answer to that question, so we'll just call you from the meetings. But thank you for everything that you've done for our city for the last 7 years, and for the 35 years before that. Congratulations on your retirement, and I'm sure that we'll be in touch. And now it's your turn to say something.
And I'll keep it brief. First of all, I'm just very thankful for this amazing career I've had with the City of Largo, and I particularly want to thank the City Commission for the support and trust that you've shown in me over the past 7 years as City Manager. One of the best things I can say about this City Commission is you've let me do my job as City Manager. And what I mean by that is that you truly believe in professional local government management. You understand how a city manager form of government is supposed to work. You have not sort of meddled, I guess for lack of a better word, in the day-to-day operations, and you stayed out of the personnel area, and you've let me make those tough decisions. You may not have always agreed with every decision I made, but you respected my rights in this form of government and my role under the city charter. So I'm just very thankful for that, and there's very few city managers who can say that. So again, thank you very much.
I applaud you.
Thank you. Any action items other than making sure that Henry doesn't change his phone number?
I have nothing.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
I feel sorry.